Sorry guys, I know I'm supposed to be live, but obviously I prepped for my live by taking Pre JYM X, and I can't stop working out. As anybody who's already received their Pre JYM X knows, this literally is motivation in a bottle. Not only do you now have a pre-workout that will enhance your workout, but you have a pre-workout that'll actually get you to your workout. Those days where you wake up, you don't feel like training, motivation in a bottle. Let's go over here now and break down what makes Pre JYM X so special. But first, let me just explain to you the experience that at least I'm having when I take Pre JYM X. Like I said, before the live, I took a serving of Pre JYM X, so I'd have heightened alertness, mental focus, and my God, the pump. Now, what am I feeling? Well, when you get a full serving of Pre JYM X, you're gonna notice that you can breathe easier. It literally opens up your pathways to the lungs, right? It's literally opening up, enhancing your ability to take in oxygen. The pump is absolutely insane, and I'll break this all down, how I formulated it, what each ingredient does, how they work together. But just on the experience side, then there's the euphoria. Literally, you literally feel euphoric, but you don't get any of the nervousness, the jitteriness, you don't get any of the heart palpitations, the change in blood pressure, and we'll break down exactly why. Now, I'm talking about my experience with Pre JYM. Now, I did not formulate this based on my experience. And as you'll see here, we've got 19 ingredients that are making up our Pre JYM X. But like I said, I'm talking about my experience with Pre JYM X, but I did not formulate this based on just my response. Quite the contrary. I formulated this based on, let me bring up a couple assets here. Here's one of the things that probably doesn't make sense, but what you're seeing here these are different versions. You'll see 36, 34, number 9, right? And then what I know, or at least the scientists that we had working on this, the group that I had under me, we knew what ingredients, but nobody else knew what we were measuring, right? And so here you see all these different versions and different subjects for pump, for focus, for measuring drive, fatigue, stimulant effect, crash, mental acuity, power, strength, muscle, keep on and on, version after version, individual after individual, so that 99% of the people trying this are experiencing that same thing that I'm talking about, the euphoria, the easier breathing, the endurance, the pump, the desire to suddenly exercise. Literally, it's almost impossible to take Pre JYM X and not want to exercise. Like I said, guys, we're talking about literally here motivation finally in a bottle. Now, how did I make this? Well, let's go back a little bit here in history. And do you remember this jug? This is the original Pre JYM, the OG right here, that I developed long before 2013, but released in 2013, this formula right here. Some of you may remember this video here in 2013 where, I'm not sure if you can see this, but here's Pre JYM's 26-gram scoop, right? In 2013, for those of you who don't remember, right, many of you may have been 10 years old at the time that I launched this, so hopefully you were not interested in Pre JYM. But at the time, before this, I was the senior science editor for Muscle and Fitness. Who knows Joe Weider? Joe Weider, God, I hope you guys watching know who Joe Weider is, because none of us would be here without Joe Weider in what he did for bodybuilding and fitness and weightlifting, okay? I worked for Joe Weider. I left Yale School of Medicine. My colleagues thought I was crazy, left Connecticut to come out to LA to work for bodybuilding magazines as the science editor. Okay, as a science editor, I was reviewing and recommending products for people and supplements and ingredients, okay? Everything was going fine and dandy till around 2011, 2012 when suddenly pre-workouts started coming in 3-gram scoops, 3 grams. This one right here, I won't tell you the name of this one, was a 3 grams, 3 grams, okay? What is the scoop size of Pre JYM X? 38 grams. 3 grams, okay? But that wasn't bad enough. They were lying. They were literally telling people that the 3 grams was equivalent to 20 grams or more, that they had concentrated it somehow. Well, supplements are already concentrated to their finest point. You cannot concentrate a gram of leucine any more than leucine's been concentrated to, okay? So, a gram of leucine is a gram of leucine is a gram of leucine. If there's only 3 grams total in the scoop, you can't even get 3 grams of branch chains in there, can you? So, I said enough. And despite the fact that I never thought I would start a supplement brand, because I'm not a businessman, I'm a scientist. And to have a successful supplement brand, you have to be a good businessman, okay? Well, I said, the hell with it, okay? This is ridiculous. They're just lying to customers now. It's time, and the only way to teach people is to provide them something that shows them what they need. Pre JYM, okay? This broke the internet, all right? We called out all these were proprietary. They weren't even telling you how much was in there because there was nothing in there, okay? It was microdose. It was milligrams of creatine, milligrams of things like amino acids like arginine, not grams like you should be, milligrams, okay? So, such minuscule amounts that it was useless. Well, come along, Pre JYM, boom, changes the entire pre-workout category. Now, fast forward 9 years, now, most pre-workouts don't look like this because we already ruined their little plan there, their smoke and mirror plan, right? By telling them the truth. So now everybody's looking for real ingredients, right? So now pre-workouts just copied the Pre JYM formula, okay? But still, Pre JYM, still today, the best-selling, best-performing pre-workout. And this is the current version of Pre JYM now. This is the 2013 version. Formula has stayed the same, label has changed, but now we have Pre JYM X. Well, what is the difference? Oh, we tested the difference between these two. Sorry guys, I've got a lot of information here. Right here you can see workout intensity. Pre is in the green, our X, the new Pre JYM, is in the stripes, okay? On every measurement, we have Pre JYM X beating out Pre. Workout intensity, the intensity during the workout, what it felt like end of the workout. This is actually end of workout, 30 minutes post-workout, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, GI issues, vascularity, how long the pump lasted, how many sets it took to get a pump, right? Far fewer with the Prejx. Again, workout intensity showing here. Again, greater workout intensity with the Prejx. So, how did we go from Pre JYM to Pre JYM X? Well, let's look at the label on our X. Now, what you'll see here is it's broken down into 3 main categories, okay? We have the muscle matrix, So those are mainly your amino acids, right? We've got our creatine, our beta-alanine, our betaine. We've got the branch chains. These are just individually broken down, leucine, isoleucine, valine. Those are the 3 amino acids that make up our branch chain group, right? We want this at a 2-to-1 ratio, the leucine to the other 2, isoleucine and valine. And then we also have taurine, another amino acid, not a building block amino acid, but a functional amino acid, which is known to be critical for energy in the muscle cell. When taurine levels are low in muscles, so is their endurance, so is their energy levels. When taurine levels are high, endurance and energy levels are up. Okay, so we want to try to keep taurine levels up in the muscle. That's why that's in there. So we also have our pump agents and then the energy neurotropics. Now, if you look at the front of the bottle, which a lot of people have, you'll see them listed here. Energy neurotropics, how many total, muscle matrix, how many grams total in there, and then the pump agents. Now, a lot of people didn't bother to flip the bottle around and said, Jim, really? You're doing proprietary blends? Of course not, guys. I'm just showing you how many grams are in each of these components that make up Pre JYM X. But on the back, which is where you want to read, right, is where every one of these individual ingredients are broken down and the dose, okay? I want you guys to know everything that's in here, right? That's what a non-proprietary blend is. You need to know what you're taking, right? Because you're taking other supplements too. So if you're having caffeine and you're pre-workout, you need to know how much caffeine you're getting, because if you're taking something else that has caffeine, it could be problematic, right? So you need to know everything. That's why I've broken it down ever since day one with Pre JYM, which is one of the reasons it revolutionized the entire supplement category, because we wanted you to know everything that's in there. So let's now break this down. Now, so what I did here is I first tested each of these components, okay? We started with the muscle matrix, right? So basically what I did before I came up with different versions of the final formula, what I did was I gave subjects Pre JYM original, right? But what it had was just pump agents. It had none of the neurotropics and the energy, okay, added to it, okay? We were just testing different pump agents until we could find which ingredients at which doses combine their synergies provided the most unreal pump, okay? Then once we found out what seemed to be the ingredients at their doses and how they work together, I then gave them the Pre JYM, but only with energy and nootropics added, not the pump agents, so that we could focus on the energy, the euphoria, right? The endurance, that sort of feel. And then we honed in on that. Then we put them all together and started testing. That was that table that you saw, all those different versions of a finalized version of the Pre JYM X, which you now have in your hands. It literally, guys, took years to develop this formula, but unlike, let me tell you how most companies formulate their products. What's the hot ingredient? What do we need to have? Beta-alanine, we need creatine. What else does Stoppani use? Betaine. We better add some branch chains. Oh, he puts huperzine in there? We better put huperzine in there, right? Then they look at their budget. Oh, we have this much money. Oh, we got to lower the huperzine is the most expensive, so let's lower that down to a comfortable dose that we can afford and put in there. And that's how they do it. They don't bother testing it. They formulate on buzzwords and on their pocketbook, how much money they can spend. That's not how I formulate. Starting with Pre JYM back in the day, right? I formulate for results, okay? Whatever it takes in those ingredients, doesn't matter the price, the best ingredients that provide the best pump, the best energy, the best experience, at that dose are the ones that we land on. So, as you saw on that table, I had all this data, different ingredients, different combinations of ingredients, different doses, From there, I created an algorithm. The algorithm literally created the formula based on all that testing that I did with pump agents, with this added with this, without this, with this and this and this, with this and this, but not this, okay? Over and over, over and over, and over and over and over again, driving my business partner, Mike McElwain, the business end of the deal. Remember, this is a business, right? We have deadlines we have to hit, okay? When we promise we're coming out with a new pre-workout, we have retailers like GNC who've got a date set for their launch. We have to hit that date. Did we almost miss it? Yes, because the science doesn't cut corners, okay? But we did it. We did it, and this is the product. So let's break down now each one of these and what they did. So we started with Pre JYM, okay? So everything in Pre JYM is in Pre JYM X. Everything, okay? But it's reinforced. A couple of ingredients are reinforced. So namely, the creatine hydrochloride. In the old Pre JYM, it's 2 grams, right? Now, remember, Pre JYM is a system, okay? That's the other thing that revolutionized the supplement industry. Pre JYM works with post JYM. So you've got 2 grams of creatine hydrochloride in Pre JYM, you have 2 grams in post JYM, okay? Same for beta-alanine. Now, Pre JYM X has 4 grams, okay? In the original, we had 2 grams because then you're getting the other 2 grams in your post JYM. And then we have the betaine, trimethylglycine, 3 grams here. In the original, we have 1.5 in the pre and 1.5 in the post because the research shows the best way to take these is in multiple doses. You absorb more, smaller dose, multiple times at the best time, pre and post workout. That's the times when you're going to absorb more and you're taking other ingredients that are going to enhance the uptake of that creatine, that beta-alanine, and the betaine. However, when websites review pre-workouts, they only review the pre-workout. They don't review Pre JYM and go, oh, it's got 2 grams of creatine, 2 grams, and he recommends taking 2 grams post-workout. No, they just say, disregard the post-workout, they just say it's underdosed. It only has 2 grams of beta-alanine, 2 grams of creatine, right? It's not underdosed, guys. These reviewers don't know what they're doing, right? It's part of a system. And remember, 2 grams of creatine hydrochloride is not the same as monohydrate. Hydrochloride is taken up more than 50% better, okay, than monohydrate by the body. So you need far less, which is why I use it. You get fewer stomach issues with the creatine hydrochloride. So even a 2 gram, if you only took this without the post, 2 grams would be enough. Same with the beta-alanine, okay? Here's what's interesting about science, guys. Until the study's done, we can't really say what a proper dose is. However, once the studies are done, suddenly we can make different recommendations. So, forever you heard that you needed 3.2 grams of beta-alanine, right? Which is why people are saying that 2 grams in Pre JYM is underdosed. Well, look at this study. It actually shows that 1.2 grams of beta-alanine provides the same benefit. So, remember, with beta-alanine, just like creatine, you build the levels up in the muscle. Once the levels are maximized, as long as you take it daily to top it off, you only need a little to keep it maximized. So even at just 2 grams of beta-alanine, Pre JYM, the original, is adequate, okay? If you're taking 2 grams post, you're getting another 2 grams, or you're now getting 4 grams in Pre JYM X. But the reason I bumped up the values of these, the creatine, the beta-alanine, and the betaine, was mainly to silence the critics who don't know how to properly review Pre JYM, okay? Now it's got the 4 grams of creatine. Regardless of form, you don't need 4 grams of creatine hydrochloride, but you're definitely getting it in there. You don't need 4 grams of beta-alanine. You're getting it in there, and you don't need a full 3 grams, but you're getting it. Now, that is not what Pre JYM X is about, okay? Pre JYM X is about the experience. Yes, I bumped these up so that the reviewers would be happy, but also for those who don't want to take a second product post-workout. There's a lot of people who don't want to do it the right way. The best way is take a pre, take a post. You've got your ingredients before, and then after you've depleted a lot of those ingredients, you're replenishing them at a time that the muscles are taking up more of those nutrients, okay? So that is the muscle matrix and what has changed in the muscle matrix, increasing those values, okay? Now, let's get into the real fun of this product, right? Okay, these muscle matrices are literally the most critical for your overall results, right? These are the ones that are going to help you when you take them, not just acutely one day, but day after day after day. They help with recovery, they help with muscle growth, right? You're gonna get better results with these, taking this. Now let's talk about the pump. And then we'll talk about the energy neurotropics. These are the acute effects that you get on immediately when you take it one time, okay? Here, you're getting effects over time repeatedly taking it from the muscle matrix, right? These are your long-term sort of effects of the product, right? These are the real nutrients. The pump agents and the energy and neurotropics are your acute effects that you're getting immediately, okay? Do I sound like I'm talking faster than normal in my live, right? And it's because I took Pre JYM X, guys. My brain neurons are firing quickly because of the energy and nootropics. But before we get into that, let's talk about the pump agents, right? Now with Pre JYM, the original, we relied mainly on citrulline. Citrulline, let's bring up this pathway. Citrulline is involved in the arginine to nitric oxide pathway, okay? There's 2 pathways that we produce nitric oxide in the body from what we consume, okay? One is the arginine pathway, the amino acid arginine. Now you say there's no arginine in Pre JYM. Why? Because I use citrulline. Why? Citrulline is absorbed better by the body than arginine. Arginine is poorly absorbed by the body, by the intestines. There's actually an enzyme that breaks down arginine, an arginase. Enzyme that breaks it down so that it doesn't get absorbed and utilized by the rest of the body. Citrulline doesn't have that. So citrulline gets readily absorbed as citrulline, but then when it's taken up, it gets converted readily into arginine. And studies show that when you take the same dose of citrulline and arginine levels are higher when you took the citrulline, because it's not broken down like the arginine, right? Okay, so that's pathway 1, which is the main pathway that Pre JYM uses, the citrulline, right? Citrulline converting into arginine, converting into nitric oxide with this enzyme right here, nitric oxide synthase, a very important enzyme, because if you don't have enough activity of this enzyme, no matter how much arginine you end up with, if there's not enough activity of this enzyme, you're not gonna get nitric oxide. Okay, that's one pathway. Now there's a second pathway, the nitrate pathway. We're going this way now, and remember, all these chemical reactions go both ways. Okay, so we can start from nitrate, go all the way back to arginine to citrulline, or citrulline all the way back to nitrate. But really what we're focusing here on is producing nitric oxide. That in the blood vessels is going to widen those blood vessels and give you that vascular look. But that's your veins, right? You can see the veins on the outside. That's not important, as good as that looks. What's really important is the arteries, the deeper blood vessels that are going to the muscle, because those are now larger and bringing more blood to the muscle, meaning you're getting more nutrients, more hormones for the workout, and more fluid, okay? That fluid gets pulled from the blood into the muscle, and that's what gives you that pump, right? So, in Pre JYM, we had beet extract. Now, if you look on the label of Pre JYM X, you won't see beet extract here in the white, but if you go to the other ingredients, it's still in there, okay? It's still in there and we use it as part of the coloring, but the reason we're not listing it is because I've got real nitrates now. With beet extract, you get nitrates, but you don't know how much, and it varies, okay? Oh, sure, you can test it, but every source is gonna vary on the nitrate source. So instead of trying to find nitrate sources that provide enough, we went right to nitrates, pure nitrates, okay? Now, I've got two different versions of nitrates. One is bound to citrulline and one is bound to betaine. Okay, that's not important, right? We've got citrulline in here as part of that citrulline malate complex. Now, what's interesting about citrulline malate too, why I use citrulline malate versus L-citrulline here, is that citrulline malate is L-citrulline, the amino acid that gets converted into arginine to nitric oxide for the pump. But this malate here, that malic acid, that's malic acid, okay? That's an energy component to, those of you who know the Krebs cycle, okay? So malic acid is important in creating aerobic energy, creating ATP. So by providing citrulline plus the malic acid, you're not only getting the pump, but you're getting more energy. In fact, studies show that ATP levels, you know what ATP is? That's what the muscles use to contract. ATP levels go up with citrulline malate, okay? That's immediate energy that you have during your workout. That's the type of energy your muscles want when you're doing a bench press, that quick, immediate energy. Citrulline malate is providing it. But we've bumped it up now, up to 8, originally it was 6, now we're up to 8 grams total, right? So now you're getting even more citrulline, more of that malic acid for more energy, more pump. But on top of more citrulline, we've also got all those nitrates now for that nitrate pathway with the betaine and the citrulline. And I'll show you what these look like for those of you who have some interest. Here's our citrulline nitrate group, and the nitrate is bound to the citrulline. It's an ionic bond, and the same with the betaine. So we're providing these nitrates. You can see this, the NO with the 3. Remember, as I showed you before in that pathway, that's the NO3, right? So we're providing, get this, guys. Do you know how much nitrate is in Pre JYM? It's unheard of. It's around 860 milligrams, okay? Just shy of 1,000 milligrams. You're lucky to find 500 milligrams of nitrates in most pre-workouts, okay? 500, as that's the minimal active dose to get a good pump, 500 milligrams of nitrates. Did we stop there? No, we wanted insane pumps, so we bumped it up, providing 860 milligrams of nitrate from these sources. And then I added another ingredient to the pump agent. This is pine bark, which provides basically antioxidants, these proanthocyanins that, let's pull this up, that are important for a couple of reasons, okay? What that pine bark does is it works on this enzyme, remember? That I was talking about how critical this enzyme is to convert the arginine from the citrulline to nitric oxide. That pine bark is enhancing the activity of the nitric oxide synthase enzyme because I provided more citrulline. You can't just throw in more citrulline and expect to get more nitric oxide unless that enzyme is ramped up. So that's what the pine bark, and there's 180 milligrams in there. That is why when you take this, the pumps that you experience are absolutely unfreaking believable. It's a whole new level. You guys will have to experience this. This is the only way to do it. So that is our pump agents. Now let's get into our energy and our nootropics, okay? So, just like Pre JYM, we've got 1.5 grams of tyrosine. What does tyrosine do? It It's a source of catecholamines. Okay, what are your catecholamines? Do you know what adrenaline is? Now that's sort of the layperson's term, okay? It's epinephrine is what we call it. But adrenaline, right? That's what L-tyrosine provides, an adrenaline rush, that you're making enough adrenaline. I probably don't have to tell you what that means, right? But that's giving you that drive, that boost, that energy. Then we've got the same amount of caffeine in here, 300 milligrams, okay? But these 300 milligrams are different. Oh, it's the same source. They're different due to the synergies. Remember, for those of you who remember my 5 pillars of supplementation, right? It's not just the ingredient, which is one pillar. It's not just the dose, right? It's not just the timing, but it's the synergy in providing complementary nutrients that enhance one another's, what it does in the body, right? So, like the pine bark enhancing citrulline, it's conversion to nitric oxide. Well, these new stimulants that I put in here, the dynamine and the teacrine, some of you may have heard of teacrine, some of you may have even heard of dynamine, but it's new. These have an effect on the caffeine. Okay, so let's bring up this. And I get this is a lot, but for those of you who are really, really supplement savvy, I want you to understand why this is, sorry, that's the wrong, why you're getting the results you're getting with this product based on these ingredients. Okay, this is it right here. So on the left we have caffeine, which is a trimethylxanthine. Okay, do you see that structure, right? You probably have seen t-shirts and coffee mugs with this on there. If you didn't know what it was, it's the chemical structure for caffeine, okay? So, familiarize yourself, and it's showing you, here is teacrine, okay, the other stimulant, and here is dynamine, the other stimulant that I put in here. And we're gonna talk about why I use both and why at these doses. But if you notice, they're very similar in structure to caffeine. That's how they work. Very similar to caffeine. These CH3s, this is called a methyl group, okay? And you'll notice on teacrine, the difference between teacrine and caffeine is this extra methyl group and this oxygen that's added on, right? So just that little change has a huge difference on how this reacts in the body. And then with dynamine, look at, here's the difference. Instead of having 2 of these methyl groups, like teacrine does, the methyl group is, instead of being at this nitrogen, it's over here on this one. Okay, and you've got that oxygen. So these are changing the way these react in the body compared to caffeine, and because they're different to each other. Okay, so what do these do? Well, first of all, like caffeine, they give you the drive, the alertness, the focus that you get, the cognitive benefits. But what else does caffeine do? It increases your heart rate, your heart starts pounding, and your blood pressure, okay? That's what these two don't do, okay? They have all the cognitive brain benefits of caffeine without the cardiovascular negative, if you will, benefits. So by adding these, we're enhancing the 300 milligrams of caffeine that's in there, and studies show, let's see if this is the right one here. Okay, this is their half-lives. So we've got blue, the caffeine in blue, right? It's a couple hours before it starts dropping, okay? Around 3, maybe 4 to 5 hours, 3 to 5 hours where caffeine starts dropping. That's its half-life, right? And then it starts coming out. If you look at the dynamine, it has a much shorter half-life than caffeine and teacrine, whereas teacrine has a much longer half-life. So while the half-life of caffeine is 4 to 5 hours, the half-life of dynamine is only about 2 hours or so, 2 to 3 hours, whereas the half-life of teacrine is 20 hours. Okay? So, if you take too much teacrine, you're going to have a bad day because it's going to last all day, 20 hours, and you can't overdose. And originally, that's what I didn't like about teacrine, is trying to find a happy medium. But when you add the dynamine and the teacrine together, you're able to create this experience where, sure, the half-life of the teacrine is long, but if you put just enough, we've got 25 milligrams, okay, just enough. That's what the algorithm helped us to discover. Just enough. It extends that nicely without being too much, and it also enhances the half-life of the caffeine. Let's see if I can find that graph right here. So now look at the half-life of caffeine, which is extended, okay? But it's not extending those negative benefits from it, extending more of the cognitive. So that is the real secret to that euphoria that you're feeling, okay? The ability to breathe better, the drive to get to the gym, that motivation. It's literally these ingredients are changing your brain chemistry. Literally, you take this Pre JYM X, and I'm 54 years old, okay? Let me tell you what waking up at 54 is like, okay? If you think you spring out of bed at 54, ready to take on the world, no, okay? Even in the shape I'm in, at 54, I often wake up sore, painful, and then I stretch, I get warmed up, I get moving, and then I feel better, which is why I work out later in the day, okay? But now that I have Pre JYM X, I take that in the morning, it literally changes my morning. Now, these also have an analgesic effect. So for you older lifters like myself, right, joint pain, right, muscle aches, trying to recover is much tougher. You're getting analgesic effects, so literally you will feel bulletproof. There's no joke here. This is the closest thing to motivation in a bottle. Like I said, not only providing you the ingredients that are going to enhance the actual workout, right? But it's literally getting you to the gym. And who has that problem? That is not generally a problem for me, but I know a lot of people have problems getting motivated and getting to the gym. There's your secret in the bottle, no joke. And now you know why. Now, of course, there's also huperzine, just like the original, excuse me, in Pre JYM. And what that huperzine and the alpha GPC are doing, I'm trying to bring up that original. There it is. So we also have the huperzine in there, alpha GPC, and what those are doing is they're basically providing neurostimulant material, right? Basically the materials that are causing those connections between your brain neurons, right? So that you're firing faster, okay? That's what those do. And then I've added teacrine, okay? This is new as well, bringing up the 19 ingredients, okay? Theanine, we have teacrine, we have the dynamine, but then we have theanine. Now, theanine, not a stimulant, okay? Theanine is more of a calming agent. Now, theanine is an analog of glutamine. That's how it's made in the body. Now, it exists in green tea. That's where we get it from, right? So we extract it from green tea. Now, you'll see studies showing that it helps with relaxation, right? And you're thinking, why would you want to have something that's going to cause relaxation in your pre-workout gym, right? Isn't that? You've got the branch chains in there, not because leucine is boosting muscle protein synthesis during the workout, but because valine is blunting tryptophan uptake, which is producing less serotonin, so you don't get a calming effect, you get the opposite, right? So why would you want a calming effect? Again, it's about the algorithm, okay? This is what we derived at, is providing that best experience. When you have this much caffeine, right? This much teacrine, this much dynamine in there, 100 milligrams of dynamine, 25 milligrams of the teacrine in there, along with the alpha GPC, the tyrosine. When you add just that small amount, 100 milligrams of the theanine, it rounds it all out, like I said, so that you get this euphoric, amazing experience. And really, that's what Pre JYM X is about. It's the experience. So, that in my long-winded way, and there's a lot, like I said, there's 19 ingredients here that took years and years to formulate and come up with based on nothing but research, guys. That's how we formulate. What provides the best results? What provides the best experience? That's the formula that we end up on. Now, it is sold out at gymsups.com. See if I can find the website here. Sold out at gymsups.com. The only place you can get it right now is GNC. So your options are to go in the store, go to your local GNC. They'll have some. I'd give them a call. Or go to gnc.com and you can order it. Now, obviously, we'll be getting it back in stock at gymsups.com. And then we'll be rolling it out at Amazon and at bodybuilding.com and other retailers. It's just that with supply chain and everything, you know, COVID is still looming, and a lot of supply chain issues and power issues that have affected not just the supplement industry, but every industry, making it hard to get this product out there. But it is here. It is available, like I said. You can't find it at GymSups. You will soon. We'll be back once we restock. We'll let you guys know. But if you head to gnc.com or head down to your local GNC, you can try it right now. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Now, before I go, the one thing I will say is, how do I use this product? Okay, another thing about the teacrine and the dynamine is they're non-habitual, meaning you don't get used to them, okay? So, like caffeine, right? You take 300 milligrams of caffeine for 9 years. Eventually, the 300 milligrams of caffeine doesn't do its thing the same way it did. And now you need 400 or 500 milligrams, right? You need more. Not so with the dynamine and the teacrine. However, regardless of that, I still don't use this one every day, because even though if you took it every day, even though you wouldn't get desensitized to the dynamine and the teacrine and they'd still do their magic for you, if you take something every day, what happens when you don't take it? Now all of a sudden you're at a deficit. So I never like being at a deficit. So I keep Pre JYM X for days like today, when I want to come in here and bust down, you know, a live like this, or I want to crush one of the toughest workouts that I have ahead of me, or it's just one of those days you wake up and you're just like, wow, I just can't do it today. I need something. Boom, I take the Pre JYM X. It's literally magic. However, if I took it every day, like I said, even though you're not getting desensitized to those stimulants, it's not going to provide that same wow. And when you don't take it, you're going to kind of get a, oh my God, I need it, right? So what I do is I use Pre JYM as my main pre-workout still, right? I still do my pre and my post. And then on the days that I want that real kick in the ass, I take the Prejx. Now, if you're doing my X project, this is available at jymstoppani.com. Now, Project X here is a 12-week program that's designed sort of like, remember Super Shredded 8, the fat burner that I had the Super Shredded 8 workout with, so get the fat burner, the workout. This is a workout that complements what Pre JYM X is doing. So on the pump, on energy, on fat burning, endurance, you're going to be pushing it with Project X, but you're armed with Prejx. So if you're doing Project X, you might want to do this on every day that you're training because those are brutal, brutal workouts. But again, like I said, I don't use it every day just for the simple fact that I really like that boost that it gives me on those days that I need it. So it's up to you guys how you use it. Let me know. You can post right here for those of you who are having it, that have it in your hands right now and have been using it. Let me know how you're liking it, and let me know how you're using it. Are you using it daily? How are you experiencing that? Or are you sort of using it as need be for those really tough days or those really tough workouts? So guys, Pre JYM X, literally the most perfect pre-workout you've ever experienced. Like I said, from the energy, the strength that you're gonna feel, the endurance that you're gonna have in the gym, the drive, you're literally not gonna be able to wait to get to the gym and start training once you've taken this. And then the pump, wow. Let me tell you something. The pump is insanity with this. Like I said, the euphoria that you feel, the ability to breathe easier is absolutely amazing. And like I said, Superman in a bottle. Pre JYM X, guys. Again, it's available at gymsubs.com right now. It's out of stock. We'll be back in shortly. But you can get it at GNC or gnc.com. I can't say it any stronger or louder, but this is the one that you've all been waiting for. All right, guys. Head to your GNC or go to gymsubs.com and we'll notify you when it's back in stock if you want to do it that way. But if you really want to get it right now, and trust me, you want to experience this right now if you haven't, head to your local GNC or gnc.com. Pre JYM X, guys. Never has there been a pre-workout comparable on the ingredients, on the dosing, on the synergies, and the experience that you'll get. Pre JYM X, guys, if you are not taking supplements by someone who does their own research, what are you paying for? Pre JYM X, this is the one. All right, I'll leave it at that. I got to go work out now because I've still got Pre JYM X flooding in my system. So I'm going to go enjoy my workout. For those of you sipping on your Pre JYM X right now, listening to me, I hope you enjoy your workout and the rest of the day with that euphoric Pre JYM X feeling. All right, guys, as always, stay Gym Army strong. I'll see you soon.